The current exhibition here in Douglas Hyde is by the Czech photographer Josef Sudek. We worked in association with the Embassy of the Czech Republic in Dublin and also an organisation called PPF Art in order to put the show on. And the director of the gallery, John Hutchinson, had wanted to do an exhibition with Josef Sudek for a long time and was really happy to have the opportunity to put this on, to bring these works to Dublin. Josef Sudek was born in 1896 in Kolín, which is a town just outside Prague, and he moved to the city at a very young age and spent most of his life there up until he died in 1976. So he lived through a really interesting time in Prague's history, a very turbulent era, a lot of political upheaval and changes. He was apprenticed to a bookbinder from the age of 15 and worked there for a few years, but was then drafted into the war, World War I, fought on the Italian front, and sadly while he was there he was injured, lost his right arm, and because of that injury he gave up bookbinding. And he had already started working in photography even before the war. He took a lot of photographs on the outskirts of Prague while he would go his journey to visit his family back home, and he took photographs as well while he was at war of his fellow soldiers. He took more while he was recovering from his injury in Prague's Veterans Hospital. It wasn't until 1927 that he set up his own studio, and he was in that studio then, living there as well with his sister who cared for him. She also assisted him in the studio, and while there he started experimenting with lots of different photography techniques, and really sort of influential for his way of using different techniques. He also experimented with very unusual mounting and framing. He experimented with panoramic photographs, which were really well known. His ones just taken in the outskirts of Prague, and they show the city at a time of transformation and change. You can see the ruined buildings after the wars. You can see the development of new apartment buildings, blocks going up. He actually took them all intending and putting them into a book, but that book was suppressed by the Czech Communist Party when it was supposed to come out because it was seen as being ideologically unsuitable. So the city was trying to put out this image of progress and growth post-war, and this was seen as kind of detracting from that. So to take those photographs, he used a really old camera dating from, at the time even, it was dating from the late 1800s, and the film wasn't available anymore, so he used to cut up sheets of film into the long strips. And so he was really inventive, and he was always kind of working around any kind of problems that he would have had technically. He cut this film into strips, and that meant that while he was out taking photographs, he could only take one at a time, and obviously bring it back then and take the film out and change it in the studio, which was really laborious. Later photographs taken around the 1940s were during the Nazi occupation of the city. He took a lot of nightscapes, which at that time film was very slow compared to what we have now, and so it was very difficult to capture the nighttime, but he did this with great skill. Give this sense of solace, a sense of human endurance. I think that's really beautiful.